Morning, YouTube land. Before we get into it, go ahead, hit like, subscribe if you like the content. I'm actually growing the channel, and who knows, maybe I'll get to a point where I can make a couple bucks to buy more stuff to review, so I'm not probably spending my own money. Not that I wouldn't anyway, because I like this stuff, but certainly helps out the hobby, and the hobby helps the channel, and then the channel helps the hobby, and then it's a win for everybody. So, what do you think we're going to talk about quickly today before I get into my podcast? Well, let's look at what's on the table. That'll give you a clue. What do all these knives have in common? They are Italian made. I've got a couple knives from Lion Steel MKM. This is the Rock, which is this one's aluminum, but it's an integral flipper, so it's all one piece of milled solid aluminum. It's got the roto lock, so you can lock the lock bar so it doesn't come undone. Not that it normally does anyway, but it just gives you extra security. And then this one also has a really beautifully machined pocket clip that goes out of the way for no hot spots. So very cool. I've also got the, this is the Kerr, K-U-R, by Lion Steel with Sleipner steel. This one is, I think, M390. This one is Sleipner, really nice. G10, beautiful liner lock, really nice action. I'll stop going through the specs here on these because I've got other videos for that. Over here, I've got the Steel Will Tasso, and I've got the Gecko. This one I am convinced, and so far no one's proven me wrong or told me that I'm wrong, but I believe this is made in Italy and 690 CO. This one's about 5-6 years old. I believe this is made by, when I look at the construction and everything and the materials and the design and just the way they bevel everything, I'm pretty sure that MKM does make some knives for other companies. And so I think my Steel Will Gecko is made by those guys. And then we've got my Tasso, which uses what they call their ant lock, which is similar but different to the axis lock. But also this one is M390. And this one is also made, I believe, in Italy. So I could be wrong on that, though. So I'm actually wrong. I'm almost positive. Once in a while I get it wrong. It's okay. So anyway, why am I showing these? Well, we're going to look at this one. Turns out I got the clap. It happened. Don't judge. We've got the MKM Clap here. This is one in natural canvas micarta with titanium bolsters. So this is one that I went to the blade show to get. There was two knives I wanted. I wanted a Guardian Tactical with a Tanto blade, which I was able to acquire. There were some other ones I was curious about and I looked at and ended up not getting, but this is the one that I wanted, but I couldn't find anybody that had it. So let's go over it real quick. Nice little carry pouch, MKM. Made in Italy, hence the Italian flag colors. And I love Italian stuff. I mean, Italian bikes, Italian cars. A lot of cool things come out of Italy when you look at the craftsmanship, but also just the design and stuff like that. So this is a little bit of a smaller. This is like a nice, kind of like a high-end gentleman's folder. So this is going to take the place of my Civivi Elementum, which I love that little knife, but just a little too small for my hand the way the handle is. This is only marginally lighter or bigger, but it's thicker this way, so it actually fits just a little bit better. And I ended up giving my Civivi away to Cody. He had a crappy knife, so I took care of him and said, here, take this one. So what have we got? M390, so very good steel. Steel liner lock. We, however, have titanium bolster with that micarta. Both sides. We've got a machined and blue titanium pocket clip. I think that is reversible. If you are a lefty, you pull that screw out, you pull that screw out, you just switch them over and then put that screw over there. It also has a blue titanium highly polished spacer. Hole for a lanyard. It's a flipper design. However, that flipper can be removed. Somewhere in here is warranty and stuff. There's a tool. So if you do live in a country, if you're watching this, and they don't allow you to have flippers because them's be too dangerous, and they want you to open it the traditional way, you still can. And so you can take that off, and that way they have one knife. And then depending on what your preferences are or what market you live in, you can make sure that it's compliant with your local knife laws. So these guys, man, I mean, they just continue to impress. There really isn't any jimping on here, but you do have a step. There's no finger choil, but you can choke up on it. It's kind of a small knife. I find with small knives, I find myself not as worried about the having a finger choil. But like if you take the tasso here, that's a pretty good sized knife. You can then choke up on that. And what's nice is even though there's no jimping back here where your thumb would be pressing, because they round in radius those edges, there's no sharp edges there. Now, I guess the downside of that is that, if you want to use this as a fire striker, well, you don't have that hard edge to do that. But I don't really do that anyway. And you just use maybe a different part of the blade. But yeah, so finger choil is great on the big ones. On the little ones, I'm not as, if it's there and it works, it's great. But I really like that natural micarta. Now, I have seen some reviews where they were complaining that the height of this was not the same as the height of that. And so there was a lip there, and they're like, you're paying 200 plus for a knife, and I can feel that lip. On mine, for whatever reason, I don't know, maybe someone got a bad batch of these handles that were slightly out of spec, slightly thicker. But here, I mean, it's not there. I mean, you can see the transition, but you can't really feel it. And it's hard to tell if there's a tiny bit of a ridge there, because this actually has some ridges milled into it. Let's see if we can get it focused. There we go. You got some ridges right in there anyway. So it's just a beautifully done knife. It comes in at 4.6 ounces. So for a little knife, it's a little bit heavy. I don't mind that weight because it's a solid feeling knife. There is no wobble. I mean, nothing. Round ball bearings in there. There's no wiggle front to back, side to side. Lockup is good. Blade centering. Let's see. Yeah, blade centering's good. It's a beautiful little knife. It does have a compound grind. I mean, the edge is the same. So that's what I kind of like about this, is it looks like, well, you're going to have, with a compound grind like a Tonto, you got to figure, okay, well, when I go to sharpen it, I'm going to do this or that. So even though it's got a compound grind here, they just basically changed the angle. You got a nice swedge here, so that's a pretty good stabbing, well-supported, stabby piercing point. I don't think you have to worry about breaking that tip off at all, unless you're being just a fool. But the edge it's not a compound edge, I guess, if that's a way to describe it. You have a compound blade on the grind, but the edge is uniform all the way across. So sharpening this should not be a problem. It's M390, so it may be a little bit more of an effort than some, but I mean, that's just, it's almost like the way that comes down almost makes it look like a harpoon, but it's a drop point, but then you've got this going on. It's just a beautiful and elegant knife to look at. When you look at all the qualities of it, between micarta, titanium, that beautifully, just absolutely wonderfully sculpted blade. The fact that it's got good materials, feels good in the hand, it'll make a good little slicer to that end. And as I always do, I never have the piece of paper ready, and I have to quickly go and grab a slice. I need a new notepad soon. So, quick little sharpness test. How's it do out of the box? Haven't even tried it yet. Yeah. Nice. Pierces well. Slices beautifully. Push test. Yeah, didn't even have to draw it. Yeah, beautiful, effortless. That's a really, yeah, you shave with that bad boy right there. That's a really nice little edge on that knife. We'll save this paper for next one. But that is the MKM made in Maniago. I can't pronounce Italian very well. But anyway, made in Italy. Very, very beautiful design. Should be easy to keep clean. We'll see how that finish on the titanium holds up over time. Sometimes those get scratched. Biggest thing I forget when I end up scratching the clips is I'll have it in my pocket, and I'm on the garage floor underneath, like doing an oil change on one of the motorcycles or something, and I roll over on that side, and then that comes in contact with the concrete. So that's where I have to remember not to do that when I've got nice knives in my pocket. But that's the MKM Clap. It's a beautiful, I mean, we'll put it down here for a size comparison. These are all like in the 3.5-inch blade size. This is, I think, like a 2.99 or something. It's right at the 3. So it's on the smaller side of what I would normally carry, but I'm going to carry that. Then you got this guy up there is kind of the biggest. The Rock is about average. This is a beautiful knife. This is a really sexy knife. Little on the larger side. This thing is just a beast. That Sleipner steel, I've been told, is, and especially how thick that stock is, and they took some criticism for using the Sleipner, because I guess it doesn't have a ton of corrosion resistance. This is like a tool steel, but the way they said they tested it, they said that blade is just incredibly tough and holds an edge. So that's a knife you can kind of beat the crap out of. And it's not as fancy, and it wasn't, frankly, as expensive as some of them. I mean, $170 still isn't cheap, but that's a good quality tool. But that's a big and beefy, which I don't mind at times. But there are times I want something nice, and it's also like a nice conversation piece. I mean, it's a nice quality. It's an interesting design. If you're into knives and you're into the craftsmanship and stuff like that, it's kind of cool to have something that's just a bit different. The designer is Bob Terzuola. Terzuola. And made by MKM. So I would give them a check. I mean, if you haven't looked at Lion Steel, they seem to have a pretty good reputation. They've won Blade Show of the Year a couple times for their designs and Manufacturer of the Year and stuff. Go to their website and just look at the designs. They have some of the most amazing looking designs that I've seen. I think their designs aesthetically, they're going to be rivaled by, there's some of the Chinese brands, I'll be honest, but the high-end ones, the $300, $400, $600, $800 ones, like the Riats, some of the artisan cutlery, but Riat's the one that really comes to mind. They are a powerhouse, and yeah, they're made in China, but they are as good as anything made in the States, better than most. They're beautiful. Now, you pay through the nose for it. You're paying U.S. prices. They're very proud of their product and their machining capabilities, but they've got some really cool designs, and I would put these guys, I mean, there's some knives that are just, they're really good, like a Benchmade. It's a good, solid knife. It'll last you a lifetime if you take care of it. There's other brands out there that are good, tough, quality, very utilitarian, well-designed knives. I'm talking about the aesthetic. I think these are well-built as well, but when you look at the aesthetic, there's something about the Italians, and then for whatever reason, Riat out of China's just got, I don't know who their designers are, but they've got just some wicked, wicked-looking designs. But that's the Riat. Or I'm sorry, the Riat. I had them on the brain. That's the MKM, the Clap. So I would encourage you to go out and get the Clap. It's a really cool knife. I think you'd like it. And if you're a collector and you like something that's a little smaller, a little more discreet, that when you do take it out, it's almost a conversation starter with your knife buddies. That could be one. They've got some different finishes. They've got ones that are just straight micarta that drops a couple bucks off. Or they've got some with G10 all the way across, but still retains like the titanium pocket clip and the spacer and stuff. All the other materials are the same. It only makes like a $30 difference to get the titanium bolsters, and the combo of that and the micarta was only like another 32 bucks. So I was like, that looks a little more interesting. If I'm buying a knife because I want it to be fancy, then what's an extra 30 bucks? Anyway, give those guys a look, man. If you haven't checked out the Italians, they are cranking out some cool stuff. So Lion Steel, MKM, there's another sub-brand. They make it under a couple different labels, but they're all made in that same factory with a small group of designers. They're very, very cool. And of course, always check out a Steel Will Gecko, also made in Italy, I believe, by those folks. Very cool knife. Beautiful design. I almost went with the Lion Steel Myrto, I think it is, Myrto or something. Beautiful. Problem is, it's very similar to this. Blade style and things like that. Micarta on one side. Now on the other side, it had a titanium frame lock. So it was a little different, and it was a flipper. But I don't know, maybe I'll get one someday. But it's so close to this design and size and feel that I was like, well, I've already got one like that. And I didn't feel like spending 220 bucks on something that basically is what I almost already have. But yeah, that's a cool one too. I love that knife. Anyway, I've got to get on to my podcast, so then I've got to go, and we got an HOA meeting today, and then I'm going to go ride my bike with my new ECU flash, so got a lot of stuff to do, so I'll go ahead and get this uploaded and start recording the next one, and everybody take care. Check it out. I love this. If you like smaller knives and you don't like these big brawny knives because they're just too big in your pocket, but you want something really nice and quality, man, these are beautiful. These are beautiful. They're elegant. They're sexy. That's a cool knife. And it's well built. That's a tough knife. That's a good, strong little knife. Take care, everybody.